So after doing a quick video on the PDR, I've been asked to cover the road up to Bemega. Let's get after it. So because it's the wet season, unfortunately I can't get up and drive that road and film it for you, although I do have a fair bit of video footage and I've got heaps and heaps of photos, so we'll make it work. But I drive the road going up to Bemega a fair bit because of work, and I also have driven it for a couple of decades now with family and doing fishing and stuff like that, so I know the road really, really well. To get a bit of an orientation, if you have a look at this map, you can see the red line from Lakeland all the way through to Weipa. That's the PDR, and the road up to Bemega isn't the PDR. They call it the Bemega Road, but technically most of it's the old telegraph track. You can see there's two bypass roads that bypass the worst parts of the old telegraph track. Now, if you want to do the old telegraph track, that's fantastic. You've got to be a hardcore four-wheel driver and have a good car. And just about every bloke that's done the old telegraph track's got a YouTube video on it, so I won't cover it too much. I'll just talk about getting up to Bemega. So this green line incorporates the bypass roads, but I've also got a blue line here because that's a separate road as well that'll take you up to the tip. So the road going up to Bemega leaves the PDR at a location called the Y, and from there it's 50 kilometres to Batavia Downs. The Frenchman track comes off the road just to the right, just about a kilometre or so past Batavia. The Frenchman's track will take you into Portland Roads and Lockhart, but if you're lucky, the road is never serviced and you've got to get through the Pasco and Wenlock rivers, which can be pretty deep and treacherous crossings, but push through and you'll get all the way through to Portland Road and Lockhart. A little over 20 kilometres from there and you hit a bridge on the Wenlock. The campground just on the other side of the bridge is called the Morden Station. A beautiful campground with a real friendly environment, but this is also the first bit of smooth black stuff you'll see on this section of road. The Bemega Road is 330 kilometres long and there's not very much of this black stuff, so enjoy it while you can. From Morden, it's another 35 kilometres to Bramwell Station campground. You can't miss it due to the massive tractor tyres at the gate. But if you keep heading north along the Bemega Road, another 7 kilometres and you get to Bramwell Junction. Bramwell Junction's a roadhouse. It has a little bar there, it has really nice burgers and stuff like that, so worth a stop anyway. But Bramwell Junction is also where the old telegraph track leaves the first section of bypass road. So if you want to hit the old tele, stop at Bramwell for a beer and a bit of a chat, and then you take this little sign here and shoot up the old telegraph track. As you head north from Bramwell Junction, it is sealed for a little while, but then you hit some pretty nasty corrugations. As you head towards the Heathland Ranger Station and the bypass track for Gunshot, it gets really sandy and really corrugated. Now if you turn at the Heathland Ranger Station, it'll take you down to the Gunshot bypass, and this is a section that if you're travelling along the old telegraph track, you don't want to drop your car down into Gunshot Creek, which is notoriously steep. It does damage your car. I've done it a few times and damaged my car every time. You can take the bypass road and go around Gunshot itself. But if you're doing the bypass road itself, you can pop into Gunshot and have a bit of a look. Or once you get to the T intersection, you can go right, well it's more like a Y intersection, but you can go right to Gunshot, or you can go left to, I think on the maps it's called Barty Creek, but for years and years I've always called it Cable Creek, and I've got that wrong. I think it's called Barty Creek. But that's a really nice campground as well. And from the Gunshot bypass, you can travel about another 10 k's up and you get to Captain Billy's landing turn off on your right hand side. That's a really nice scenic drive in. It does take you about an hour or so to drive into Captain Billy's. It's a really windy sort of a spot, so it's not the greatest spot for fishing, but it's a beautiful campground. It's always nice and cool. Make sure you book your campsite though. There's limited campsites and the rangers visit this place every single day, so they'll be hitting you up for your camping permit and they'll boot you out if you haven't got one. But heading north from Captain Billy's Landing, it's about a 50 kilometre run to get to Fruitbat Falls. This road has got a little bit of sealed section just before you get to Fruitbat, but most of it's really poorly corrugated, so it's not well looked after. This road's only graded about twice a year, I think, so most of the time the corrugations are going to be pretty nasty. But Fruitbat Falls, what an amazing place. Take the drive in. Technically, Fruitbat Falls is on the old telegraph track because the first bypass road links up before Fruitbat Falls, and then the second bypass road starts at about Fruitbat Falls. So driving to Fruitbat Falls, the kids will love it, have a swim there, cool off, and then drive back out to hit the bypass road and keep heading north. A little bit further past Fruitbat Falls is Elliot Falls and Twin Falls, which is really worth a look as well. Some of the most beautiful spots on Cape York. So from Fruitbat Falls, you're on the Northern Bypass Road. Northern Bypass Road's about 60 kilometres to the Jardine Ferry. You do have a nice long stretch of bitumen along this section as well, which is pretty new. But just as you come off that bitumen, as you get close to Jardine Ferry, it has to be some of the worst corrugations on Cape York. I don't know what it is about the soil there, but it just corrugates like crazy. So please, if you're towing a trailer or a caravan, or even if you're in an older car, just take it real easy along here. Now you do have fuel back at Bramwell Junction, and you also got fuel as you hit the Jardine River ferry. So you do have to pop into the fuel station anyway to pay the fee to get across the ferry. It's about $110, $120 or something like that to get across. Not sure what it's going to be in 2022, but I'd say about $120. And that gives you your camping permits and stuff like that. The only way across is across the ferry. There was an old way across and people still talk about it, the old crossing at the Jardine. Look, some guys are out that they still get over it. There's a big sign there saying you're not allowed to. I do understand why they do it. It's a bit of a floating boom gate, if you like, to get into the Northern Peninsula area, but it covers all your camping fees and stuff like that. And look, for $100, jump on the ferry, go across, you won't regret it. Some of the most beautiful parts of the world is over there. When you get to the ferry on the return, early in the morning, last year the lineups were horrendous. Here's some photos of the cars behind me and the cars in front of me waiting for the ferry, because you can only fit a few cars on there at a time, and if people are carrying trailers, you can only get like 2 cars on, and then they go back and forth, and the lineup is just huge. So once you cross the Jardine River and you're heading north again, it's 25 kilometres of really badly corrugated road again until you get to the Muddy Heads turnoff. And Muddy Heads is worth a visit as well, because there's some really good World War II relics there. I think there's a radar tower there, and I think it's the last of the World War II radar towers that you go and visit. So that's really quite interesting. But the beach at Muddy Heads is beautiful. The mouth of the Jardine River is also down there. There's some great fishing, especially for queenfish off the beach. So Muddy Heads is really worth a visit. But from Muddy Heads, from the Muddy Heads turn-off anyway, it's about another 7 kilometres, I think, till you get to Ingenuity and Imagico, and that's all starts to get bitumen. So bitumen all the way from Ingenuity, past Imagico, into Bemega, and down into Sasha as well. You're not at the tip yet though, so if you head through Bemega and go down to the BP service station, so from the BP service station you can take Bajinka Road to the tip. It's about 50 kilometres or so. It's really badly corrugated, sorry guys, but who's not going to go and visit the tip? Go and get your photo taken at the sign. And look, if you've got any other questions or anything you want to know, please leave a comment.